Hello, fellow watchers. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. And we switched to the Golden Gate Bridge because there's a whole lot of shaking going on today. 4.1 registered earthquake down by Monterey, about 8 miles from Monterey. So that's what we've got going on today. And we got a whole lot of shaking going on in the markets as well. So without further ado, let's move on and share our screen. Here's the S&P 500 heat map, or freeze map, we might call it today. There's a couple of pockets of strength. PG&E, or Procter and Gamble, and Abbott are up today on their earnings, but everything else is down because the bond yields have reached levels that we haven't seen since 2007. And we know what happened after 2007. It wasn't very pretty. So if you don't want to worry about the downturn that is possible, I suggest that you get an annuity. You can get one of these for 7 years, and it beats index investing, 12.58 to 7.57. As I've said before, once you go up the step, you do not go down the step. You will not lose money in an annuity, and it goes up on average of 12.58%. How do they do that? Well, they give you a bonus of 40 to 45% right now. If you want more information, please get in contact with us. So that's the news there. Let's go to our world news first. Chinese economy grew 4.9% year over year in Q3, slowing from the growth in the previous quarter of 6.3, but topped the 4.5% consensus estimate. China industrial production rose 4.5% year over year, matching the pace in August, slightly above the 4.4 increase expected by economists. American Petroleum Institute said weekly crude oil inventories fell 4.383 million barrels. Gasoline fell 1.578 million barrels. Distillates fell 0.612 million barrels. And Cushing fell 1.005 million. And so let's bring up our chart. And yes, here's the 10-year Treasury note yield. It's up to 4.88, highest level. Relative strength isn't at a new high, but it is at a new high. So we'll come back and look at that later. So Brinker upgraded to strong buy from outperform at Raymond James. Stock tried to move up and then sold off. Floor & Decor to replace Vicor, VICR in S&P 400 on the open at 10 on October 20th, and Vicor to replace Searcore International in the S&P Small Cap 600. Floor & Decor tried to go up on the news, but I'm sure the long bond killed all the enthusiasm for that. So Vicor up 3%, and Searcore does not seem to be around. Maybe it was bought out. Yeah, I can't bring it up right now. Energy, industrials, and materials. JB Hunt Q3 EPS $1.80 versus $1.83, and the stock kind of craters, down 6.44% on massive volume. Their earnings came in at negative 30%. Take a look at XPO, another member of this, down about 3% on the news. United Airlines Q3 adjusted EPS $3.65 versus estimate of $3.35, but still it is cratering much further than it was up 30% earnings, 8% of earnings surprise, and it is not good enough, not what people were expecting. Terex announced that John Garrison is retiring as chairman and CEO and member of the board of directors effective January 1st, 2024, but that's not why the stock is kind of cratering. Their expectations moving forward is not what analysts were expecting, and it is down quite a bit, as you can see. Rio Tinto said it will aim to boost iron ore output with a stronger outlook in China as urbanization in India and across parts of Asia drives new steel demand growth. And it is down, gapping down 2.67 down on the financials. MasterCard and Visa, the Wall Street Journal reports the Federal Reserve preparing a proposal that would lower the fees merchants pay to the banks when customers shop with debit cards. MasterCard is down 1.3%, and Visa is down 1.05%. Fulton Financial Q3 EPS 42 cents versus 41 cents. It was up earlier and it's right about where it was yesterday. Hancock Whitney EPS $1.12 versus estimated $1.04. Not what people were looking for. Maybe it was something they said in the conference call. Down 28%. Earnings surprise of 8%. Interactive Brokers Q3 adjusted EPS $1.55 versus $1.51. Not what people were looking for. Earnings surprise of 2.5%, gapping down big time under its 200-day moving average. I'm sorry for all you Interactive Brokers stockholders. That is a big loss. They're trying to fight back. M&T Bank Q3 EPS $3.98 versus $3.93. We're initially up, and now it's sold off on the news. Maybe it's because of the high yields, which are compressing a number of stocks. PNFP Q3 Pinnacle Financial Q3 EPS $1.69 versus estimate $1.71, and it's off about 5%. And finally, Preferred Bank Q3 EPS $2.71 versus estimate of $2.56. Couldn't move higher and now is sold off. On to healthcare, Ardelyx, ARDX, said an FDA approved Tenapanor, marketed under the brand name Xphozah for control of serum phosphorus in patients with chronic kidney disease on dialysis. And it's moving higher today, up 12% on a massive volume of 1,173% over average. Yes, that will get your attention. On to BioRad Laboratories. CFO Ilan Daskal will resign effective November 6th to pursue another opportunity, and they're down about 8%. Elevance Health Q3 EPS $8.99 versus estimate of $8.44. And yes, they do move up on that news. 21% earnings increase and a 22% earnings surprise. Kudos to Elevance. Takeda Pharma said its trial of Darvod Strocel in the treatment of complex Crohn's perianal fistulas didn't meet its primary endpoint based on the top-line data in the phase 3 trials, and it is gapping down 1.9%. Viking Therapeutics shares rise overnight after saying its phase 1 trial of VK2735, a dual agonist of glucagon-like peptide, also known as GLP-1, and glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide, reduced liver fat content and plasma lipid levels in patients. And Viking is down 4.3%. Finally, YMAB said the FDA has cleared the company's investigational new drug or IND application, and I spelled this wrong, and their stock is down 2%. On to technology, media, and telecom. ASML warned of flat sales in 2024 as customers conserve cash, said it expects 2024 to be a transition year with revenue similar to 2023, and their stock is gapping down because of the news. Omnicom, quarter 3 EPS $1.86 versus estimate $1.84, and it's gapping down on this news at 1.66%. So that's kind of the story there. You see take a look at what we got here. What's moving up on volume? LPG is moving up. It's above its buy area, $30.09. So I think it's a big risk at this point. But before we move into looking at the ETFs and where the big money is flowing, I want to take a look at what analysts expect stocks to double their earnings this coming quarter. First is Royal Caribbean, selling off pretty strong. They think the consumer is going to stop spending. Nvidia is down further on the Chinese restriction news today, and probably some pressure from the high yields. Their EPS gain is supposed to be 478%. Third quarter gain for Royal Caribbean is supposed to be 1,209%. Arch Capital supposed to be up 461%. It's down slightly. Insurance, mortgage, and reinsurance. Welltower is supposed to be up 218%. It's trying to have a breakout here. We'll see if it can get there. In real estate, Alexandria Real Estate Equities supposed to be up 152% in the third quarter earnings, and they're off 1.66% today. Constellation Energy supposed to be up 149% in the third quarter, and down 0.3%. Walt Disney, it's down slightly today. It's supposed to be up 144%. They're in the communication services with Google and Meta. Assurant in financials supposed to be up 142%. It did break out over here up to 148.54, pulled back, and then continue working on its strong move. AIG, American International Group, supposed to be up 124%. Remember, I said things move in threes. Try to break out over here, move higher, pull back. Try to break out here and pull back. And now, I guess this is the second time it's trying to move up and out. Meta Platforms, supposed to be up 120% in the third quarter. It's pulling back about 1.27%, mainly, I believe, from the high yield on the bonds. And finally, Amazon is supposed to be up 107%, and it's selling off a little over 2%. So that's our look there. Now let's take a look. It's a pretty small list today. First, we'll look in the oil. Tidewater, it's moving up. Pretty good volume over here, above the average. It's still early in the day. And ESTC, Elastic, looks like it's trying to break out of this area. Pretty good volume over here in the blue. We looked at them before, 334% earnings in 2024. Operates as a search company and ingest and store data from any source in any format and perform search. And finally, VMware. It had gapped down, so I'm not even sure why this would be on the list, but it is. Shows what kind of a bad day we got. Procter and Gamble, gapping up, huge volume, earnings beat of 17%, 6.43% earnings surprise. And I believe Travelers in the insurance area is on the list as well. Travelers tried to move higher earlier and then sold off. Earnings were down 11%, negative earnings surprise of 35%. DaVita is trying to move up after this huge gap down. This company is Swiss company is clinical biopharmaceutical company. Treatment of inflation. It's working on a flat base here, trying to break out as a 99%, beating 99% of the companies, the S&P 500 with a relative strength rating. Hasn't moved into a new high ground yet, so just continue to watch it. And Point Biopharma Global. I'm not sure what happened on this chart. It looks like it gapped up. Looks like it's a takeover offer here. So we would exclude that. See what is on the moving out of. We looked at United Airlines, Morgan Stanley had a bad report. They're gapping down 6.5% on some massive volume. Earnings came in at negative 10%. I believe this is United Rentals. Construction area is down because Terex earnings came in on the conference call, warning their look ahead. Caterpillar, same problem. And Sympathy, they're down. A lot of the construction area as well. And Albemarle is down big time as well as people move away from lithium stocks. So we can take a quick look at our ETFs. Financials down. Commercial services slightly down to their 10-day moving average. All the gains that biotech made has now been lost. On both accounts. Software is hanging pretty tight. That's a good sign. Technology hanging right there at where the 10, 20, and 50-day moving averages converge. Semiconductors gapping down today. Industrials moving down pretty hard. Material sectors down. Would believe the housing sector, home builders are gapping down and closing on the low. Let's take a look at once again, here's the yield on the 10-year Treasury, 20-year ultra short. It's moving higher as well, 4.27. Look at the dollar index. Dollar is up slightly today. Gold, interesting. Gold is gapping up. That is very intriguing. Silver remains steady. Copper, Arrow Copper is falling. Southern Copper is falling. And FCX is falling. Take a look at Ethereum and the crypto. It is gapping up slightly on relatively luke volume. And Bitcoin falling off. They had a false rumor on this day where it jumped up that the SEC had approved a ETF on Bitcoin. It was a false rumor, and we think that this will trend down and for a while here. So that's our show for today. Hope provided some value for you. This has been Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. If you have any financial goals or financial questions about your goals, please check in with us. And we just think we're in a pretty crazy time, as our PowerPoint yesterday pointed out. Just think the bond yields are going to continue to rise, continue to compress stocks, definitely on the indexes. Some areas are going to prove worse. We didn't take a look at Our S&P 500 is down close to 1%. RSP, equal weighted S&P, is down more than 1%. QQQ, the NASDAQ, is down 1%. Equal weighted is down 1.2, even worse. The VIX, I would assume it'd be popping, and it is. Got pretty close to our target of above 20. Didn't quite hit it. It's pulling back right now. The small caps pulling back 1.55%, a little worse than the other indexes. And the Dow Jones pulling back to its 200-day moving average. So that's our report for today. Mornings with Michael is brought to you for information and educational purposes only. Please hang in there. Let's try to turn this around, get this inflation down, get our economy back on track. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow.